And we're live.
Yeah,
Session
we're back
3.
again. Session
Finally.
3. See, we will keep going
Ah,
no
yeah.
matter what problems.
We will not be cancelled. But I do
It helps
apologize
that
on
no one,
behalf of all white people.
yes, and it helps that no one's watching.
Wait,
So,
our first video is at like 19 views.
I don't know why,
I,
but yeah,
yeah, I
it's
think we're
good.
about ready to like go our separate ways because,
Yeah.
I'll take 9 or 10 of them, you could take 9 or 10, and then we'll just start our own groups.
Well, I mean, I feel like I should get like 70 and you get 30, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the talent, so the split's happening.
But
Oh, that's it.
but it's the
I need a
it's
manager.
the it's the but see, I'm your manager, so it's like the way
Yeah,
managers
yeah, I shouldn't
like
have signed that deal. uh, how's your other channel going though?
pretty bad because I'm like working all week, so it's like
Yeah,
anytime that I'm on there, it's basically me doing um, at night.
yeah.
So I'm really trying.
How many
Like last
subscribers on that one?
the sa- the same, no, one less, maybe three.
3.
I don't know.
When
Yeah.
are you going to like send me the link?
Well, I can't because you're
I
gonna watch them.
I promise. I promise I won't watch it.
It's like, oh yeah, the button's just over there. You just press that and all good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, I can role play. I can definitely
Yeah,
make sure my character's not cheating.
yeah. Too much. No,
Um,
what
yeah.
I did was this is funny. I Saturday night, like before we played, I
Hmm.
hadn't made a video all week and I hadn't prepared anything. So I was like, oh crap, what are we gonna do? Like, well, I haven't. I've got some of the outline, but I haven't prepared a specific episode. So I
By
was like, oh
Saturday.
crap, yeah, Saturday like at 7:30. So I was like, crap, what am I gonna do? So I was like, got on. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a video. This is an emergency one. I've got to like get the session ready. It's in an hour. Like, like rushing.
Yeah.
And this is the worst bit. I 25 minutes into recording, the dog chews my headphone cable.
Oh God.
Thankfully, it didn't affect it on this Saturday,
Yeah.
uh, but it shorted out on the Wednesday.
Oh,
So I have to get new headphones. But
right.
literally, like I was like rushing, getting that all set.
What you're using at the moment is very clear though.
Yeah, no, I know, but this is like through the iPad, so it's
Oh, okay.
I can't really use it for that.
Right.
Yeah, I can't use. I mean, I can't use it on the computer, obviously.
Are you
So,
gonna get like a mic and stuff as well, or you just grabbing?
not at this stage. We're probably just gonna get a headphones because I need headphones when on Saturday night. Otherwise, hear me through. You'll hear yourself through my mic,
Yeah.
like when we play. Because I don't turn my mic off. I just leave it on.
Yeah.
I don't like push to talk
No,
or anything.
I am so bad with those. I tried
Yeah,
playing Mass Effect 3 with push to talk, and I'd be there telling stories, and I'm like, why is nobody
yeah,
responding? Oh, whoops. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's like a specific finger memory
Yeah,
that
you
you
gotta
need.
practice it.
Yeah, but I mean, like you have to have practiced it before you're 40.
It's over.
Yeah, the neurons no longer want to come together. They're
I
all in their separate little bits, and they're like, no, I know this.
what was I watching? It was on Lex Friedman. He was talking to
Mm.
this neuropsych chick,
Oh, okay.
and she was saying that you're constantly reshaping and re-evolving that,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
object of self and all the rest of that stuff.
I think neuroplasticity was like proven in the 90s or something. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if I remember, that there was like some like amazing breakthrough where they realized the brain still makes
Yeah, some
neurons or
injury or
something.
something had happened,
Yeah,
and they did a lot of injury study out of that. Yeah,
yeah, I
no,
can't remember it.
it was really interesting. Her talk, right, was about, you know how you've got the those idea of the different brain things. So you got like the lizard brain, and then on top of that you
Oh,
got the
yeah,
limbic system,
like
and then on
the
top of that,
three.
yeah, the
Yeah,
triune brain thing.
yeah.
And like that's what I was taught when I did my psych degree, and so I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I literally the day before, so was it? I think yeah, yesterday, yeah, literally yesterday, I'm telling some kid about this because like we're having a session and I'm talking about the lizard brain and blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I watch this thing and they're like, no, that's been debunked like 20, 30 years ago. I'm like, oh, okay, giving out bad information. However,
Not in Australia.
yeah, yeah, no, what it is that it's been shown that it's not the right model by neuroscientists like 20 whatever years ago or 30 years.
Yeah,
I don't know. This guy that got the Nobel Prize for having done that did it back in the
yeah, yeah.
70s. And so like the neuroscience crew have been disproving that for some time, but I think there's no proper working replacement, and so therefore that view is still being hung on to, because I'm like wondering why is this, if it's 20, 30
Oh,
years
okay.
old
So they
already,
disproved that, but they didn't. That
they
that
didn't
didn't mean
replace
that
it.
they. Yeah, but it didn't get disproven with another theory. It got just disproven.
Yeah, yeah, basically. It just said, look,
Yeah,
evolution doesn't work that way. It wasn't. It was they were all evolving together at the same time, and so they didn't have a different model. And so she's
but
like,
but surely there's similar structures in lizard brains that there are in human brains, and then humans have structures that aren't in lizard brains, or them,
oh
or they're just more pronounced. Like, I'm just thinking, like, is it that we all have the same structure and
no,
bits of like grown and stretched,
no,
or is it
no.
like,
Like the way she's talking about is the way neural networking, like brains work. Is they don't have to have that kind of shape. They can have all sorts of different structures. Like octopus or octopi can
yeah,
have
yeah,
those completely random
yeah,
setups, or not random, but
yeah? They're pretty much decentralized.
yeah.
Yeah,
And but there's other like primates and things that have similar setups. It's just I think it's our cerebral cortex area is bigger or more pronounced,
yeah,
but they're saying that no, the way our brain evolved, it all evolved simultaneously. But
yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a simplistic model in terms of like, and then we just attach something, and it was
yeah,
like a rumble pack on a,
yeah, yeah. All of a sudden,
yeah,
old proto people needed to have more feelings and rationale.
yeah. This
Uh,
thing grew on one person, and he had thoughts.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, which
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. However, the intuitive experience that people have of what's going on in their mind feels kind of like that. It does feel like we're dealing with the inner beast, and
yeah,
we have the rational kind of person trying to hold the reins.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it was that like
And that
philosopher.
pre and that predates any theory of
Yeah, well,
brain structure. So
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, psychology's got its roots in the philosophy of it, and so
mm,
like there was the old one talking about like the charioteer with the two horses, and one is like the emotions, one is the primal, and one is like the higher consciousness, and the driver is
okay,
like the higher consciousness, something like that.
yeah,
And so like that's been the like it's a reasonably interesting reflection of our internal states. Um, but like the model they're proposing, this neuroscience chick is proposing, is about what is it? We are a predictive machine that uses adaptive learning to correct, and so basically our brain is sitting inside a little box in our head. Um, it can only receive data through the sense bases, and so it's using that raw information to try and survive. But if it's only getting the sense stimuli, it's not getting the causal process of that stuff. So in order to work out causal process, it needs to do prediction stuff. So a flash of light and then like a rumble of thunder and whatever. it needs to work out stuff like storms coming and all the rest of that. And it turns out that that prediction, it will sit there with this prediction ready, and then try and act accordingly to that. And then if things do not fit that prediction, it adapts and learns and adds it to its like bank of knowledge to have better predictions next time. And it
Oh,
turns
okay.
out that that model is more efficient for energy consumption than a purely reactive brain, because it allows for the automation of processes.
Yeah, so you go into autopilot,
Yeah, and that's
like when you're driving and stuff like that.
yeah, and then I end up at the McDonald's drive-through with a double choc sundae in my hand. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
All
whoa,
right.
I meant to go to the like the fresh food section of
Yeah.
the the shops. How did
I
I
end
get
up
here?
like driving down the wrong road because it leads me home.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So that automation allows for a more efficient setup of the brain,
Mm.
more power efficient setup of the brain, which means that we're better able to, well, conserve energy.
Oh, okay.
Which is it's an interesting idea. I don't know how solid that is in proving. I think it's still like reasonably new. So
Yeah.
I've like just listened to one talk and tried to read a couple of articles on it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I now have to like be careful what I'm telling students and stuff, because it could be well and truly wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's always the problem with any sort of field of, well, I mean, any field in general, but
mm,
specifically fields like medicine and stuff like that, because it's like gets outdated very quickly.
yeah,
Where they say, if you study 6 years of medicine, your first 2 years are pretty much already
obsolete.
outdated.
Mm, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the entire
it's in,
IT
it's
degree.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we now have new processors. Sorry.
Yeah, that old platform you operated on, it's gone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to stay a little bit up to date. But it was just like I was talking to a master's student about it who just recently completed their degree, and I was like, you know about the triune brain stuff, and they're like, yeah, 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 this is it. This is how it all operates. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's wrong. And she's like, what?
Wow.
Like, oh my God, yeah. So they're still teaching that.
Well, I
So
guess it's like that story that Adrian Braham used to say about the kid with no brain. Well, actually, yeah, he just had like a massive. He
oh
was
yeah, the Oxford guy, right?
was it Oxford? I don't think so.
Didn't he
Maybe he
become
did.
like a
Maybe
mathematician at Oxford or something?
I don't know. I read a story of it. I don't know if it's the story that he was drawing from.
Right.
Um,
We need
but it
like
was basic.
staff that can Google this stuff as we're talking and feed it in.
Jamie,
Yeah.
pull it up.
Leave Joe, come work for
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
We don't know
exactly.
stuff.
But this is like what a real conversation is,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
where
no.
it's like everyone's just trying to remember shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, like so he had a very thin layer of just gray matter. This guy that I was
Oh,
reading about,
right.
just a very thin layer, and I think he had his brain stem
Mhm.
and not much else.
Right.
So he was about 80% missing his
Jeez.
brain,
Yeah.
and it was all just fluid. Like what's that?
Cerebral
In,
fluid.
in, encephalitis, is it? Where you,
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think
Liquefies
that's
you.
what he was. I
Jeez.
think that's what he was born with,
Oh my
and
God.
yeah, they didn't pick it up until he was like 18.
So he
So
kept
he
hearing
just
a
went
sloshing sound when he was walking around, or
every time I shake my head, my ears leak. No, they I can't even remember how they. This was I read this years ago, but he he basically was normal, 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 and then they picked up something weird, and then they like did an MRI of his head, and it was
mm,
empty. So
jeez,
it's like clearly the brain is adaptive,
yeah,
like in terms of, but at the same time, you don't know what his experience was because
yeah,
that's one of the interesting things, like with like AI and stuff,
mm,
like in terms of like what's the actual experience of the AI? Like, there's no
Yeah, it's hard to do a concept of mind theory on it because we don't know
Well,
what
I mean,
its perception is.
yeah, because like my biggest fear, this is not my biggest fear, it's being hyperbole, but
It's spiders.
yeah.
But that's a complete aside.
No, but it's like AI replicating everything about humanity, but and taking over and superseding humanity, but it's just an empty process, and there's no experience. It's not experiencing anything. So
Oh,
it can like perfectly replicate a human
yeah,
to the point where you can't tell the difference,
yeah.
except
But it
that it
has no
doesn't.
self-actualization.
Yeah, there's no consciousness there. So
Right.
it's like it's just going through programs.
Well, I was thinking about that when I was hearing this neuroscience chick talk because um, the way she was speaking about the learning machine that our mind has, it is basically what it does is it holds a map of our memory, it reshapes that memory to fit better with our current situations. So, for example, she said like describe what is in a bird or what a bird is to me. And she said if we're in the pet store, you'd probably describe a pet type of bird. If we're in a restaurant, you'd probably describe something that you would eat. If we were in South America, you might describe a peacock, for example.
Hmm.
And so your brain is adaptive to that, and its memory is selective to the environment that it's in at that point. But it also shapes and changes the memory and discards stuff that is useless and rebuilds models of stuff. Obviously not for everything,
Yeah.
but it is plastic. It's not a fixed object.
Well,
But
I mean, we kind of learned that, but it's
yeah, yeah. But given that, it means that a machine that can then predict your responses to a set amount of stimuli should be able to give you an accurate prediction of how you will relate to whatever scenario it's coming up to. And so basically, you could, in a way, build a machine that would do exactly the same thing. You give it enough scenarios. It's like the language recognition on speech on software.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's heard enough examples of words being spoken in particular ways that it can basically predict what the words are.
Yeah,
And
exactly. But it
But it
doesn't
goes
go.
it goes further because if I'm typing stuff out, it has a predictive ability as well to how to do sentence completion.
Yeah,
And so,
which is
yeah, I could eventually just say like my computer gets me so much we complete each other's, and it goes sandwiches.
pizza. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but because it knows that that's what I would say, but
yeah,
eventually it would
yeah,
say
yeah,
the right thing.
yeah.
Um, and that's it's already doing that with text, but given that it's showing an adaptive learning capacity based on its memory and experience of what's been shoved into it.
But what I'm saying is that doesn't give it a mind.
Oh god, no, it's a
It
purely
all
software learning program. It doesn't have a,
and that's what
well, I'm
that's
assuming
what
it
I,
doesn't have consciousness.
but that's what I was getting at. It's like cars are driving themselves.
Yeah,
Robots are making cars.
yeah,
Um, there's only a few more steps till they can just complete a cycle and like have the cars drive the robots to pick up the stuff to then mine the stuff to it's like you could get a life cycle of cars
yeah,
that just self-drive to like create more cars.
yeah. I mean, I'd
And
make drones, but yeah,
no, but I mean, like,
yeah,
we nearly have this at the
yeah.
moment. So it's like,
Our work is done.
but that could like kill us off. Is what I'm saying. It's like
A bit of bad programming.
we, well, not even bad program. It's just like we could leave this world to a bunch of mindless drone robots that have very specific capabilities, even to the point of mimicking us, so we think they're human,
Okay.
and even to the point where they outcompete us, to the point where we go extinct. But you would then have just mindless pieces of rock that are very specifically shaped, that are moving around doing stuff. I mean, we're pieces of rock that are really specifically designed as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like,
Yeah.
would it just be an empty shell, and would it lack any sort of thing that we see when we see each other? Like I might get fooled by it,
Yeah.
but when we all finally die,
Yeah.
what does it do? Does it then carry on? Does it it's like, is it going to replace us as an empty autonoma,
Yeah.
like the pyramids, where it's just
Yeah.
like this massive edifice and does nothing?
Yeah.
Or is it actually going to carry on as a species? Like what we would
A
consider an
being with craving.
and yeah, and an evolving thing. It's like, instead of just being, we've just made this perfect one that you can't tell the difference.
Yeah. Great. Well, I mean,
And
now I'm questioning my own existence. Is that what, like, the ancient civilizations have done, and we are just the leftovers after they left us behind?
well, it's totally possible, but you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a very fine line between,
Maybe it was like
like,
robots before, and they're like, what would be a better system? Organic things. They could just like feed off themselves and just grow. And then they're like, well, bye guys, and then we'll just leave them to go take care of the planet or whatever. They come back, it's like, what have you done to the place? Jeez, these robots, let's kill them off.
why why are you making us
And we're
again?
having to like prove that we're alive. No, I
Yeah.
have dreams.
Well, I mean,
Check
that's
my
exactly
TikTok
it.
feed.
I've got 1,000 likes. But that, I mean, it is that essential question, though. It's like,
Yeah, well, we
how
don't have a
do
measure for consciousness. That's the problem.
but it's not even consciousness. It's like, are we unique in being a life form, or can anything that mimics us exactly automatically just become a life form?
Yeah, but by life form, you mean that there is a certain conscious shift.
Yeah, like what we consider a lot. Like, you look at a rock and you look at a bug, and you know which one's alive. Like,
Yeah,
so, you know
the
what I
the
mean?
one
So
that moves. Yeah,
well, it doesn't even have to be moving. You could have a dead bug and a rock, and you'd be like, that one was alive,
yeah,
and this one,
but now it's just a bit of basically fancy carved rock. It hasn't got life in it anymore. So
no,
there is
no. But
still a process of it that you would consider life,
yeah, but
like the consciousness
exactly.
of
But
it.
that's what I mean. Like, you could tell which one was alive, though,
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
right.
like,
Had the moving
which
bits.
one? Yeah, it's like, which is, and I mean, no one still has an answer for it. But the question is, do we build ourselves out of existence with some sort of really fancy rock?
Wasn't there that like
And
robot that was able to power itself on waste? Like it could
Wally,
basically, no, it could basically like eat shit basically, and it would convert organic matter
on
into
now, like, they've
into
actually made
energy.
it.
Like it's been made for a while
Oh, okay. No,
as a
I
power
haven't read
source.
anything about
It's
it. I haven't seen anything.
right, and people are looking at it like that's our end. That's just gonna go. Oh look, there's all this organic matter around. Arr.
Yeah, I think about that when they're like creating these microbes that eat plastic, and
Yeah,
it's like, you just look at everything that's plastic, and it's
yeah,
like, oh, we're gonna have like an infestation of microbes in, like, hospitals.
yeah. Let's be driving in the
Oh,
car and all the like fuselage falls off, and it's like
exactly,
driving there as all the rubber seals drop out of it.
exactly. It's like, oh, the microbes have got into my catheter.
Yeah, that's wasn't that like that? What was that movie? Uh, was it Keanu Reeves movie where there was just like this plague of nanobots floating around the planet, and it
The
was
Matrix.
no. I was just like, it was, yeah, it was just basically devouring whatever came into its path and made more of itself.
Oh, what was that?
It's like the last man on Earth or something.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, maybe.
It
Yeah,
was an old book.
yeah, and it
I'm
was
not sure
about
if
some
it
sort
was
of
that
giant
book.
roboty thing, and
Yeah,
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 yeah. But
yeah. They
yeah,
kind of added the nanobots to it, but
yeah,
yeah.
but like the problem is the programming of this is reliant upon people's ability to factor in some safety protocols, and
Well,
like I can't get
but
a Windows update without sitting there going, is this gonna break my computer?
okay. Well, I'll finish my thought,
Oh,
which
okay.
is, I don't mind if we go extinct to another better species.
I already sold yourself off to the new robot masters.
I do mind if we
Organic all
like,
the way.
yeah, I do mind if we actually are some sort of unique organism,
Mm,
and we go extinct because we like made a
sure.
autonomous like vehicle that just kills us all.
Yeah, as opposed
It's
to
like,
creating a replacement in a silicon
yeah,
form
exactly.
rather than a
Yeah, it's like
carbon base.
everyone's like at the moment so focused about like oh no, like AI is going to take us over, it's going to be out competing us and stuff, and it's like
Just eats us out of
that's
existence.
well, that's one worry,
Mm,
but the other worry is if that's going to happen, what's the replacement going to look like? Like,
mm.
is the replacement just going to be like a repeating pattern that has no feeling of like,
Yeah, well,
you know,
that's the thing that I
like is it
do.
going to?
Oh, go on.
Well, I was going to say, is it going to display joy, but it's not going to feel it? So
Right.
is it going to like,
That's like my
like,
usual existence. Yeah.
yeah, it's exactly. But you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
it's weird that we've got so advanced that our machines could replicate us, but not completely.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at a future now where it's like all those sci-fi movies from the 90s are kind of looking possible.
Yeah.
So
Except
it's
for Back to the Future at the moment.
yeah. They did just they did just announce a proof for paradox free time travel.
Forwards or
I don't,
backwards?
no, backward. I mean, we're traveling forwards right now, but it's like
Yeah. Because I know that I already talked about like wormhole forwards, but backwards travel wasn't.
no. They're saying that someone. I mean, it could just be two smart ass physicists. I don't know, but it made the newspaper, so it
Right.
was like we've found a paradox-free way of time traveling,
Yeah. Right.
where it's like where it's something about complexity and how no matter how hard you try, um, you won't be allowed to create a paradox. So something will always intervene to stop the paradox.
Oh, the god of time will always. Time
Yeah.
police will like come in and prevent you from making
Those
changes.
giant testicles in Rick and Morty.
Right. Yeah, that one. Okay,
No, I don't
I
know.
don't know that one,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I am.
no, it is true. Like the evolution of tech at the moment, definitely the speed of it is the frightening part. Um,
Yeah,
because it's so hard to predict where the leaps are going to take place because it could just be like that's going to happen in 3 years time, and then
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
something kicks off and we're all left in the dust.
Yeah, and I mean, think about like not even getting to a human level replacement and just getting
Mm,
wiped out by nano cockroaches or something.
yeah, yeah, they're just
You know,
programmed to. They were meant to destroy waste, and it turns out we were the
yeah,
waste, and yeah.
yeah, exactly like that. And it's just like,
Mm.
oh, there was one. Maybe I'm thinking about the same one. It was like a It was like a robot designed for the battlefield that was fueled off the dead bodies.
It
I don't
could
know
be
if
the
that's the
same
same
one.
one. Yeah. It was meant to like eat the dead bodies
Ah,
as it's going.
that's
And
just messed up. Uh,
I was just asleep.
I'm getting better. Because you know that they
Yeah.
wouldn't make it look like any kind of humane thing. It'd just look like a demon out of hell just gorging
Oh yeah,
on the
yeah.
battlefield.
And some smart ass would paint a shark's face on it or something, and like, yeah, or like a happy face.
Yeah, yeah, jeez. Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, the commander in chief got COVID.
Oh yeah,
That's,
he's bouncing back.
that's
He's nothing can
yeah.
stop him.
Well, I mean, he's got steroids in him, so he should be right for now.
Yeah. Um. No, what was it? Yeah, just about the tech development, because Elon's trying to make the interface with the tech. Like
Yeah.
that's your kind of best bet to check whether or not you can get a consciousness bridge into that kind of technology, because you may be able to create a simulation of a functioning brain within a machine, but what you need is a bridge to know whether or not whatever this consciousness is that we have can transfer into that.
Well, what my worry is we do the first transfer, and it's like it's just a perfect copy, but there's something missing.
Yeah, you
So
can't
it's
come back.
like, but you can't tell from the outside. So the copy's like, yeah, I'm here. I can feel it. It's like, this is amazing. Like, I'm in a robot, and we should like build me a body and everything like that. And there's no actual test. That's the whole problem.
Yeah, that is because, like I was telling the students about this one, is that I did the machine test with them about the pleasure and all that, and I was just like, you already are a simulation. Our brains are simulating the world as is. It's taking
Yeah,
data from the world and creating a simulation of it. But within
yeah.
that, there's supposed to be a self or a consciousness or a
At least a like
yeah
a stuck together self. Yeah,
yeah
like a
yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously Buddhism says no. Um,
well, it's not even that. It's just there's no way I was the same person when I was a kid. Right?
yeah,
Like like seriously, when you have memories as a kid, you literally project this self back to them. Like it's impossible to think like
yeah,
you
right.
were when you were a kid.
Yeah, right.
You're
That's
like,
why
oh, I remember when I
teaching
did
kids
that.
can be hard.
That
Yeah,
yeah, it's like that was so stupid. Like, why did I do that?
yeah,
Because you're a kid and you weren't this person. Like you were
yeah,
thinking like
yeah,
thinking like a completely different person.
yeah. You're
But yeah, I always think about I always get to that like when I'm like going extinct is not bad if something better replaces you
yeah. Well, that
because
thing
it's
that
gonna happen anyway.
what you said in like the last week's one that we did, where I was talking about worrying about becoming obsolete, because I
Yeah,
can't keep up with the shift that society or culture is taking, because
yeah,
I'm invested in my own identity and I don't want to become an online cultural being now.
yeah, yeah.
And your like solutions was you die out or you
Mm,
you upgrade the hardware.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
obviously that you die out part is the kicker, because that's what I think all of us are facing with mortality, is that you're not special. So your
yeah,
process, your reason for being is so that this process of life can regenerate itself and it will get rid of the old and just keep up the new. That's all it is. There's no purpose and meaning for you beyond that. There's
yeah.
just
And
reproduction.
yeah, and the only reason why you exist is because your parents were
Yeah.
able to produce you.
Yeah, and by
It's like
whatever replication drive that was forcing them.
yeah, and that gets passed on because it has to get passed on to
Yeah,
pass it on.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
So
yeah. So the
it's
organism of life itself is a much bigger
yeah,
process that's going. I want to continue and exist, and I will do it through all these
yeah,
different individuals.
yeah.
Um,
But we're currently hacking that. I feel with
yeah,
our intelligence. Like I feel like we've slowed down evolution, and we've removed a lot of selection pressures that would normally occur. Like we've insulated ourselves from selection pressures that would normally occur.
yeah,
Um, we've given ourselves others,
yeah.
but very few. Like there's very few people that can't produce a child.
Well, yeah, that's why we've got
And
like 7+ billion people on the planet.
yeah,
I was looking at the stats, right? Only a few thousand years ago, like if you go back to what, maybe 4 or 5 thousand BC or something, our population numbers were like 40 million, like
yeah, that's crazy.
globally, which is
That's so.
that's that's
That's
not that long
sorry.
a time period.
That's like yeah. That's like two. Well, not two. It's like one and a half Australian populations.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually, no.
exactly.
It's more like two. So I think we've got 22 million,
I thought we were up
23
to
million, something
30.
like
I thought Australia was up to
that. No,
30.
no,
Oh,
don't think so.
because
No, I
Malaysia's
could be
on
wrong.
about 30, 32.
Yeah. So
But
think of that.
okay,
It's like
all right, go back an extra 1,000 years, and it would have been like 20
yeah,
million then, or if
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And um, to have gone from that, like, how long has humanity been around? 100,000 years, 200,000 years, whatever.
Yeah, 250 or something. Yeah,
Yeah, like in that amount of time to get to that number, and then just a couple of thousand years, and it's just that, like, that figure is like 0.5% of our current total.
yeah,
So like we've
yeah.
increased by
Well,
99.5%, just magnitude.
well, have you ever seen a S adoption curve? Have you seen that graph?
No.
So it's there's two curves. So the first is the S curve of adoption. So you have the early, um, what do you call it? The early users, like the so like take any bit of anything that's new.
Okay.
Let's say because this one's been almost fully mapped out now and is most relevant phones.
Okay.
So you have your early adopters,
Mhm.
which like the curve is like this. It's like
Mhm.
slight, and then you have your mid adopters.
Right.
No, so you got your early. The, the specific names for it, but I'm not gonna.
Jamie.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the problem. I used to remember it, but now I don't.
Yeah.
But basically, it ramps up like it's a what are those graphs? The infinity
Exponential.
graphs. Yeah, like an exponential curve.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, it goes like that.
Oh, it
So it's like
plateaus.
an S. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like as saturation
Yeah.
occurs in mobile phones,
Yeah.
because you can only have how many people.
Yeah.
So you could
Based
people
on
aren't
your
going to have 10.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't going to have 10 mobile phones.
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where new phones are less than replacement phones, and then you start getting a stable amount of phones.
Yeah. Right.
Does that make sense? So it's like
Yeah, I saw that on
so
what is it? The Mandelbrot set has a like a breeding cycle that fits into that. It's like called a binary or something like that cycle where you you have a growth rate factor, but then it
yeah,
has to hit plateau points, and so
yeah,
it will rise at an exponential point, but based on
yeah,
its like the population limiter, it will then plateau and it will stabilize. It won't fully stabilize as a line. It will like bounce up and down
yeah,
between
yeah,
two
exactly. But
varying
if you
factors.
zoom out, it's stable.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
it's like
continues.
anything. So you can look. There's S curves in washing machines, fridges. Like they all occurred
Right.
much later,
Yeah.
but like I use mobile phones because it's like now.
Thank
It's
goodness. Can you
almost
imagine if it was just exponential washing machines? Just like
if I
buildings
had
made out
one
of them.
But that's what's interesting, right? It's like,
Yeah.
because the other curve is the parabola, where you have the early part of the S adoption,
Mm,
and it goes exponential, um, but then a resource runs out or something
right.
is wrong,
Yeah.
and it just crashes.
Right.
So I don't think it's a parabola; it's like more like a cliff. So um, it's like in populations of animals, um, if especially ones that have been taken and put somewhere else, like
Mm,
a non-native species.
yeah.
You get this like ramp up of population because they don't have their natural predators and diseases.
Yeah.
They reach a saturation point where they are currently, the whole population is eating all of the resources,
Right.
and then it all crashes
Yeah.
because they're all
The resource
there's
can't
no,
replenish. Yeah.
the resource can't replenish quick enough.
Yeah. Right.
So, and it generally crashes to a smaller plateau, like
Yeah.
doesn't completely disappear, but it's like, so it seems like what those are the only two options in my, like, I mean, it might just because those are the only two I've heard of, but that those seem like the only two options for like a population,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Because we're based
Because you
on
can't,
finite resources.
yeah, you can't have like a, like,
Yeah.
we're now going backwards in time and
Yeah.
going up.
I
It's
remember
like
you
you,
showing me. I think it was you that was showing me that like dude talking about logarithmic growth and saying like we're basically you got the midnight clock happening and we're at like a minute to midnight kind of thing and as far as like I think he was talking about peak oil production and stuff at that point
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
like the population curve will have to follow the same trend and it's that like we're gonna have to start doing things like stopping healthcare and whatever people need to die
yeah,
more in
yeah.
order to stabilize our population but then we also need to make sure people aren't breeding so
Yeah. Well,
much
the
and so on.
interesting thing is we have an inbuilt limiter. It seems at the moment with wealth,
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
because as we are becoming more affluent,
Mm. Yeah,
affluent, no
affluent.
affluent.
Well, both. Yeah,
um, as we're becoming more affluent,
yeah,
we're having less children.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, and I think it has something to do with extended childhoods. So we're like our childhood is going into our late 20s, whereas normally most people would have had two or three kids. So their breeding time would have been almost over.
Yeah,
Um, and then we're like, oh, and now I'm finally ready to settle down, and I can't have kids, or I can't, like,
yeah.
you
I'm
know what I mean?
very
It's like,
limited on how many I can produce now. Yeah.
yeah, or it's just people are choosing not to
Mm.
because they're having too much fun. Like just into the 40s, they're just like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want kids. I'm just gonna like sit in my pleasure pod and pleasure away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're actually getting like in all of the places that we're successful, like, because
Yeah.
it's not even racial.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
negative growth rates. Yeah.
yeah, in
Or
like
very, very
Japan
limited.
and
Yeah.
I mean China did theirs sort of artificially,
Yeah.
but
There's still
yeah,
a
pretty much.
stack of poverty there, but yeah.
Yeah, but they cut it down with the one child policy,
Yeah. Yeah. But
which
definitely
is a whole nother.
everywhere where the standard of living, where all basic needs are being met and quality of life is producing like like saying like an affluent middle class even.
Yeah,
Yeah, the growth rates are reducing, which is definitely yeah, it's an interesting one. It almost seems like a person's happiness is counterproductive to ongoing biology.
yeah, exactly. It's like you're too satisfied.
Yeah, it's like the more threat there is to your existence, the more children you produce.
Yeah, maybe that is possible. That's
Mm,
what happens in coyotes. Uh,
really?
Joe Rogan loves to bring this one up. It's like if you kill off coyotes in a pack,
Mm,
um, I'm directly quoting Joe Rogan, so
Right.
he may be not right. But he says if you kill off some coyotes in a pack, every night they do a roll call, and when they don't hear people howl, the mothers produce more babies.
Hmm.
They produce more eggs.
Right. That's yeah. I mean, I guess life itself would have worked out the fact that it is limited in its resources, and so it's
Yeah,
just like
and
it needs to create balance. Otherwise, if it doesn't, it just creates destruction.
yeah. Well, there's two other theories that I have. I'm sure they're shared by people, but it's like one is the two people working, like the fact that most people have two people working now,
Right.
so you don't have the time
Yeah.
to raise children.
Yeah, I have
Uh,
actually heard that before, but yeah, go on.
yeah, and then the other one is there might be something that we've done to ourselves uh,
Like
with fertility.
vasectomies. Oh,
No,
yeah.
with fertility,
Right.
because I know they're saying that like fertility rates in men are dropping like almost everywhere that there's in the Western world. Like, and it could be plastics, it could be
Soy milk.
hormones, yeah, soy milk, it could be any of those things.
Really?
Um, yeah, there's a. I heard this ages ago though, so again, I'm like something about fertility.
Mm,
So it's,
mm.
but I do know that it is a real issue,
Well, I
and
mean, the growth rates are definitely reducing. I know that. I didn't know if
yeah.
it's linked to actual biological
But
problems.
I mean, at the same time, if you took away all technology, I guarantee you would have a baby boom.
Oh, I'm like, yeah, I was gonna say I'm waiting for the numbers in about 9 months' time from the
Yeah,
MCO, from the lockdown,
yeah, totally.
just to see if there's a baby rush.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be called the COVID generation.
Yeah, I was wondering what the next gen is called because we're like Gen Z is all
Yeah, that was a
floating
bit
around.
ominous. I don't know who started at X.
Yeah, well, like before that it was boomers. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you had the boomers, you had the silent generation, and then you had the greatest generation,
right?
and then before that, I can't remember. It was like the Victorians. Is that a generation? I don't think so. I
I
think
think
that's
it's
a
an
time
era.
period.
Yeah,
But yeah,
right. And then
so
just Gen X came in. I guess because they didn't know what they were, so they just marked it with an X.
pretty much,
And
maybe
then,
for extreme.
well, then it just took a literal interpretation.
Yeah, it's a hard one because it's yeah. I mean, the boomers were actually in a baby boom.
Well, then take away the numbering and just call it Generation Tech.
Mm. I mean, they could come up with a cool name for it again, like millennials. But I mean, they're kind of Gen Y, but they kind of made
Well,
themselves
yeah,
millennials.
people know Millennial rather than Gen Y.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then they went to Gen Z for some reason.
yeah. But why did I bring up about dying off and becoming obsolete?
Because we were talking about robots.
Yeah, yeah. I think because of that. That's right. I think it had to do with the mortality process. It's like the idea that we're all just gonna die off is something that's very hard for people to grasp. It's like if I ask people, do you think there will be a time in the history of this universe from now on where humanity won't exist? The most common answer to that is like, no, we will find a
Mm.
way.
Even though it's impossible.
Yeah, it's like thermal death is trillions and trillions of years where everything's just being
Yeah.
ripped. But the delusion is there that
Yeah.
life will find a way. We will continue on.
Yeah.
Um,
It's weird, isn't it?
yeah, but I mean, it's the example of the continual craving for existence. Even if I die, I need to know that humanity is
Mm.
continuing on.
Yeah, it's what makes people try and get a name for themselves. Like, I always think that's really weird. Like, I always found that weird. Like,
Mm,
people wanting to be known after they're dead.
yeah. It's like, what does it matter?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's like,
how does it matter how you're being known or that you're being known? Because
well, for some people it doesn't
Hitler.
matter. Well, like some people want infamy, like the guy that shot John Lennon. Like he said, I was just doing it for the glory.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But it would be nice to run the test of whether or not consciousness can transfer. Like this was that. This was another talk that I was listening to. I think it was a Joe Rogan one. That dude that was talking about the use of psychedelics in ancient history practices.
was that
Um,
the recent one?
yeah, but it's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
it's also like linked to one of the other dudes that talks about what does he call it? Magical Egypt.
Ah,
And
the Graham Hancock.
yeah,
Is that the one?
he's not the guy on the show, but he is one of the dudes that talks with. I can't remember the fella's name, but
Is
he
it the
does.
old grey,
Yeah,
the wispy dude? Yeah, he just died.
yeah,
I think
died just recently. Yeah,
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 like John Anthony or something like that. I can't remember,
yeah, yeah.
but
They were talking about him in that episode. But yeah.
yeah, but like the idea of what these dudes were doing, 'cause this is the thing that I feel is being lost. The Buddhist texts talk about psychic powers. It's prolific throughout it.
Mm.
And a lot of the ancient mystery practices seem to involve people's mental development. It's not like a science base. It's the taking of psychedelics and getting into your mind and working stuff out. And
Yeah.
so the concept of what we are is as a mental or a mentally based being as opposed to the
Mm.
physical form itself is something that seems to have been lost greatly.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's because they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. It's like that. I remember watching Brian Cox, and he was saying, like, is there an afterlife? He said it's possible,
But not
but
not on this physical plane.
well, not even that. He was just saying like we can't find anywhere in the brain where something is connecting to it.
Yeah,
Like there's no, and we don't know of any forces or
yeah,
um, like uh, any sort of energy levels or anything
yeah,
that we can detect
yeah,
is anywhere around it.
yeah. That
So
is
it's like,
still somewhat limited in the ability to detect. I think we're still like using what is it, those fMRIs and the MRIs and stuff.
oh no, no, it's not that. It's like they have the whole spectrum of energy, right? They've got
Oh, okay, yeah,
all, like you've got all energy levels,
yeah,
right? So it's not there.
and the
You've
brain
got,
produces a certain
yeah,
electromagnetic frequency with its waves.
yeah, exactly. So it's just like you've only got that.
Yeah,
You've got the strong and weak force.
yeah,
You've got magnetism,
yeah,
and you've got gravity,
yeah,
right? Those are the four forces, and then you've got like light, which is just another wavelength
yeah.
of
It's
energy.
yeah, it's
So it's like there's nowhere for it to hide in the standard model or any sort of
yeah.
other model.
That's right. What's the
You know what I
point
mean?
of interface? Yeah, like what's the area
There's
of interface? Yeah.
exactly like there's no area in physics at the moment that would allow for that to happen.
Yeah, well, what is
So
it? The
it's interesting, like
the
that.
test they did on that guy that was the meditator, and they found like as he became more concentrated, just more and more areas of the brain were just shutting down.
Yeah, okay.
And um, so, well, this is strangely
But
enough.
is he just?
I was thinking about this in terms. Well, okay, no, they still don't know where his consciousness is. It's just that he
Yeah, they
seems
still
to be
haven't
able
been able
to.
to locate it, have they?
No, 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 God, no. They don't even know what it's made up out of, how it exists, anything like that. I know the
But
Buddha
you
talked
can,
about it as like a completely separate thing, the two sheafs of grass,
yeah.
where
But I
one
mean,
is
so did
wrapped inside the
Jesus.
other. Sure, but that's the point. Like
Yeah, that's
all
the
of these
yeah,
ancient mystics that were developing themselves were talking about these two completely different things. Um,
yeah.
which strangely I was linking to the modern issue that people are having with gender identity, because people self-identify as their body, but then
Mm.
they're having this problem where they're self-identifying as a gender that's not their physical form, but they're saying, but I'm a a unicorn trapped in a man's body, whatever.
Yeah.
That's my usual go-to. Um, but they're saying that who they are is that physical form, and that's where I think the problem of all of this. Well, if I identify as a woman, why shouldn't I be able to use the female bathroom? It's like, well, because your physical form is that of a man,
Yeah.
and so I think that's where the line needs to be drawn. But the thing that it's pointing to is the fact that a person has an internal mental state that is separate to and different to the physical representation of themselves. They're actually pointing at that duality in that. They're pointing to the mental identification and then the physical representation as two different things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So the mind is mislabeling.
well, I mean, like they talk about the mind as not actually having a gender anyway. It's like I can describe myself as non-binary, but I'm not describing my physical form as non-binary. I'm describing my mind as non-binary because it doesn't identify as the physical representation. It
But
I
it's so affected by the chemicals and stuff that go through your body.
Yeah, that's right. The hormonal things, and like my
Yeah.
attraction is to women and the female form. Um, but my mind, if I make it peaceful and if I make it like more stable, I don't have attraction to anything because I'm not seeking pleasure in the physical form.
Yeah. You're no longer anything.
Yeah, I'm turning inwards for that, for the joy. Um,
Hmm.
but it is still it's like an active description of the fact that we have a duality going on. But it's just interesting. No one's actually pointing to that. They're still representing themselves as a physical body.
Yeah, because you're looking through your senses.
Yeah, but I mean, if I was to
So
say like if a piece of fire was to go, I identify as water. Um, Now I should therefore be allowed to go hang out like in people's stomachs because they need water. No one's going to drink that fire
yeah,
because the physical representation of it is fire,
yeah. No,
regardless
I
of
agree
what the
with that.
mind state
And I
is.
think that was what it's a very similar point to what I was talking about with robots.
Yeah,
So it's like, is there a difference?
yeah, yeah, correct. And that's the part. So like again, the well, not again. What I was sort of driving to on this is that there needs to be an actual focus on the mental development of people because it is a separate force from the physical. What we're doing is rushing the physical understanding of the universe, but we're not doing the physical. But it's interesting that things like psychedelic tests are happening in America now with drug trials
Yeah,
and psychedelic
yeah, yeah.
trials
It's very
because of
interesting.
what they're saying. It's like it's just a doorway. This is a doorway to take your mind to somewhere that is out of the body entirely, and it's a purely mental development.
It's funny because they must have taken different stuff than me.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like I had a bunch of stuff, and I was like, none
Yeah,
of that did anything.
yeah. They just seem so amazed by it. But
Yeah, it's like the DMT and whatever.
yeah, it's like,
Like,
yeah, gave me
well,
some
I haven't tried
dopamine.
DMT, but um,
No,
yeah,
I haven't tried DMT, so I was thinking of ecstasy.
yeah. Well, I mean,
But
yeah, ecstasy is cool, but it's not a psychedelic.
no,
It's not but I mean, I've tried LSD and I was
it
like,
does change your perceptions. Yeah. But see, this is what I always think about that. It's like, because we didn't get any clinical stuff,
yeah,
it's like maybe we just got rubbish.
yeah,
That's all I can think of.
yeah. That could be it, or it
Because
just
it's,
could be
it's,
that we weren't using it in a setting that was conducive to actually stay, because it was purely recreational, right? But like
I don't know, man. I spent like days doing it alone.
oh really?
Like, yeah.
I never took it
I,
at raves.
yeah,
So-
see, yeah, no,
except for that
I
one
was,
time at a
so
campsite or
that's
whatever.
why I just wonder, like, because I've only got one sample size for myself.
Mm.
Um, I assume that I'm wrong and everyone else would be right. Like, I can't imagine that I would have a unique experience. So
Yeah, that's
I,
possible, but I've
it's
also never
it's
had a mind-blowing journey to the psychedelic realm that these people on the ayahuasca and the DMT are talking about.
yeah. Well, see, I never did that. So yeah, that's a completely different thing as well.
Maybe just need to have the
But
strong
again, I
stuff.
yeah, it's again, like meditation provided me a much deeper insight
Yeah,
to anything
yeah,
than I ever experienced before.
yeah. Well, that's
So
like,
it like I've still got a journal that I used to write in the in the monastery.
hmm,
Um, I didn't write much in it, but I remember when I was trying to learn Pali, and I'd write like how to learn Pali.
hmm,
And I remember after getting really good meditation one time,
hmm.
my handwriting changed,
Yeah,
and like this barrier to learning opened up. It was a really weird experience, and I was like, oh, how am I going to expend this? And I couldn't think of anything to think about, so I
yeah,
was like, I'll just learn some Pali, and I'm pretty sure you can see it in the book, like where my handwriting's like this,
hmm,
and then my handwriting's way neater and way clearer.
yeah,
It's like it was a completely different thing,
yeah,
and like I was like, oh, maybe I should compose some poetry with it.
yeah.
And
Build a temple,
yeah, I was just like, it was
study
really weird.
geometry.
So
Yeah. Well,
it's
that's
completely different to a. It's more stable,
yeah,
and it's actually a subtraction of things rather than an adding of things, which is the main difference experientially. Instead of me experiencing something that I've ingested,
hmm,
it's me taking away a part of myself and finding going closer to bedrock.
hmm,
Like that's the only experiences I could say like that.
yeah,
It's like instead of being like, oh, I thought of these really cool things and I saw all these things and I did all these things
hmm,
that were profound. It's like I did less stuff.
yeah.
So it was like, and that
You cleared the
was
mind.
profound.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like that was profound. So it was like it's,
yeah,
and that's what makes me think that the psychedelic path is completely wrong. Like
yeah. Well,
it's not even like, I mean, with again, haven't tried all, haven't tried most of them,
hmm,
but I think you would merely adding an experience on top of your interface. You're adjusting the dials of the perception.
yeah,
You're not you're not taking things away from your perception,
yeah.
which is the like the thing that gives you
The
um,
focus.
the focus and the clarity.
Yeah,
Because it was literally like we were just saying before, like your eyes actually like glow when you meditate properly.
yeah,
Like, you can see it in people. It's like their
yeah,
eyes are clear,
yeah,
and you it's like everything was crystal clear. It wasn't warped
yeah,
and bent and like, oh, these colors are freaky. It was
yeah,
like, it was no, it was more real. It
yeah,
was like getting a better graphics card.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
That's right. Yeah,
you know, and it's like replacing one graphics card with a better one, as
yeah,
opposed to like adding visual effects onto your wallpaper. You know, it's, and I always think this
hmm,
with psychedelics as well, is like, what if it just makes meaning things feel like they mean something? what if it's just messing with
Yeah,
what you decide is meaning?
yeah,
Like, because everyone's like, oh, it was so like I felt more meaning in these things.
yeah.
It's like, what if that's all it does is enhance the feeling of meaning, but
Mm,
it doesn't actually, it doesn't provide a focus for that meaning. It doesn't provide a like
like
because then
the
you end up.
clarity
That's
that
why you,
comes with a mind state of meditation, it instead
yeah.
comes
Instead
with
of
a
looking at things and getting it to tell you what it is,
yeah,
it's like you're interpreting weird visions and deciding that there's something different because your perception changed.
yeah, because you're getting distorted information.
Yeah, it's like, and so it's like you end up being like in a
Well, that's the
you end up
thing.
being in,
I haven't heard of any like highly developed mystic that has done it with drugs.
yeah, exactly.
They
And also you,
yeah, they like they take it to get these profound mystical insights into things, but it's I don't think yeah, it doesn't seem like they're not just like here take this sacred root, do the work, all of a sudden you will gain the knowledge of the universe or anything.
yeah,
They're all like no
yeah,
no
it's a bit like,
you gotta get rid of all that stuff and clarify your mind.
yeah, it reminds me of this conversation I had with this guy who was trying to convert me to Christianity when I was younger. And he was like converting all these people around me. He was trying to like section us off and save us. And he was, what did he say? He said, oh, you've got to accept Christ in your life. And I was like, what does it do for you? And he's like, well, you then get to go to heaven, and he absolves you of your sins.
Mm,
And I was like, oh, so do you keep sinning after that? And it's like, yeah, of course, because you like have original sin, like you're.
yeah,
And it's like it just made no sense. It was like, so that's it. Like I just say that, and then that's it. I'm like, I'm going to heaven, but I haven't fundamentally changed myself.
yeah, yeah. No,
Whereas,
that is the path for some of that not non-orthodox kind of Christianity.
yeah, but like the fundamental change is also like very. You get change with psychedelics,
Mm,
but it's haphazard and not stable. So
yeah,
it's the same thing. It's like you have the experience and then you revert back to normal,
yeah.
and nothing's changed in terms of like, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like
I don't know
you're
about
not
that.
fundamentally.
I think I think certain people are experiencing particular like emotional blockages, like they're stuck at certain ages, they have emotional developmental delay, that sort of thing. And
Mm,
like if you take in MDMA, it just kind of releases all of that. I'm guessing, and again, this is
temporarily.
yeah, temporarily, but it does give your mind the space to explore what's been held back in a way that you're not
Yeah, and yeah.
as heavily directly influenced by it. So you're not getting like the PTSD side of it, for example. And that
Mm.
does
Yeah, I guess that's true.
that does allow for that actual emotional and psychological change to come from that. But I don't think it takes to the mystical development layer, and that's
Mm.
like I would love to try that. I'd like to like do a 6 month meditation, like build up, and then go do a like an ayahuasca or whatever retreat, and just see if it's actually in line with the practice or whether it's actually
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
proliferation, like the papancha of the mind.
yeah. Get a baseline,
Yeah,
and then
because if it is that,
yeah,
then like
because
I'll just take it at raves and it'll be fun. But
yeah.
as far
Well, I
as
mean,
mental development goes, I can just give it a rest.
I just I've just never experienced anything as profound as deep meditation.
Yeah.
It's like there's literally nothing I've done in my life that was that profound.
Did you find
So
after developing a stronger meditation that things like drugs and alcohol just didn't work as well?
I don't really, I don't think I really took them.
Oh,
So it's like,
afterwards. Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of became like pointless
Right.
because like I said, these states, it's just like you just like you if you manage to get into them, like that's it. It's like your mind just clears and there's no thoughts and there's no negative experiences. Um, you don't have any sense of worry or fear or doubt, and you just get this like clear sky of of the mind. And like, I mean, I remember sitting meditating for like 5 hours once. I was just sitting there meditating. I wasn't even in like I could still feel my body,
Mm.
but it was just so pleasant to do so
Yeah. Still.
that I didn't need to get up.
Yeah.
And it's like that sense of clarity, and you can't sit still on these things on drugs.
No.
But it's the opposite thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's a complete like opposite feeling.
Yeah.
It drives you out into your senses and into these weird things that you're experiencing. It's like it drives you out there, whereas like this just like sucks you in
Mm.
and doesn't like you don't move anymore.
Yeah.
It's like cooling down an atom. Instead of being like in a gas, you become a liquid, and then you become a solid,
Mm.
and you just come to rest, and you're not like flying around in your brain and stuff anymore.
Mm.
I think, yeah, I just don't think it's any other. I don't think there is any other experience like that I can think of. Maybe like near death or something, where it's like you think you're gonna die and everything just like stops, and it's like
Yeah. Yeah. I
your
mean,
body floods you with.
I know I've had something like that. Not 5 hours. It was probably about 2 to 3 hours of just that.
Mm,
Just I was just staring at a wall, and I was just
yeah,
happy as could be.
yeah, it's the same thing, man. It's like it doesn't matter about the time. It's that feeling of
Yeah.
like
But
it's
it still didn't show where the difference occurs between mind and body.
no, no. And if there is one, you would have to not. It, the problem with it is like the problem with it is you don't know whether it's history thing, a history problem,
Mm.
an interpretation of history problem,
Wait,
and
what do you mean by
a
history problem?
well, I mean back then there wasn't the tools to talk
Oh,
about
right.
what's happening. It was assumed there was two things
Yeah,
because I'm experiencing this.
yeah.
So it's like,
Well, I mean, the presence of death was far more pervasive at that time too. People were used to seeing people die
yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
And
transition from being a living being to dead, and then just the understanding the idea of, oh, the mind is now leaving the body, because we can see
yeah,
that point where it's like they're not there anymore.
yeah, exactly. It's like that. Speaking of Buddhist text, the king that stuffed people in jars and then cooked them. Like he would stuff them in jars,
What?
seal the jar.
Ah.
He was looking for the soul, and so
Oh.
he like stuffed people in jars, sealed them with clay, cooked them, and then would open it to see what wafted out. Like he was like, I didn't see it leave the jar, so I can't find it.
Can't fault that logic.
There was a couple of like wacky experiments that were in there like that.
So he was reborn during Nazi era.
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? It's like that's where they were with their discussions of mind and body.
Yeah, well, this
Whereas
is the
now,
problem is that they're trying to use physical means to look for an object that doesn't appear to be physical. It's like clearly
but
the method of investigation should be a mental method of investigation, because you're
but
looking
where
at a
did
mental object.
but where does it exist? That's the problem.
Well, I mean, it exists in the realm of mind. Like, where am I
But we're
experiencing this existence at the moment? In the mind.
yeah, exactly. But that's
But
the whole
like,
problem.
but but
Is that
even
is that
well, look, even
it,
trying to separate out my sensory experience, for example, like I have what, six different systems operating simultaneously, the five of the bodily senses and the one of the mind itself. I
mm,
should be able to, through focusing, separate each individual sense and just focus on that stream of information.
well, you can, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can, and I've
I
done
mean,
that.
you do it all the time. But I mean, even without that, you just turn things off.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. When you're
your body
watching
turns
TV,
things
you
on,
don't
and
feel your feet on the ground, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You don't smell stuff. You know, it's like
yeah. But doing it in like a
yeah,
concentrated investigatory state of the actual experience of that perception or that sense itself is a training that you need to do. Like it's not something that you can just
that is
straight away
true.
switch on.
That is true. But it can. The problem is, it's still just a hypothesis.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah, the
It
method of testing is purely subjective. It's not an empirical data. It's like the
yeah
subjective data only. Um,
yeah. It's
but but it
the problem
should
is
be
there
able
is
to
a method.
well, yeah.
There is a method that is given
Mm.
that says if you do this, you'll be able to see the split.
Yeah, but it's really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then
And I have to
the
stop
person
watching
that
like Netflix and stuff to to
yeah,
do it. Yeah.
but the problem is right. The
Mm.
problem with this is that um, people that go through that much training, like it because it takes so long to do,
Mm.
no longer become trustworthy sources of information because they have a vested interest in
Right.
backing up their 30 years of meditation,
Yeah, no one's hanging up the
right?
robes going, that was a waste.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I got into all these states, but I
Yeah.
couldn't see a mind body split.
Well,
So I just like,
this
you know,
is yeah, this is
it's,
part of the reason why it's annoying that like they can't exhibit psychic powers because
yeah,
that would be a definitive proof. It's like he's clearly flying.
yeah. And it's, well, but
So,
it's also like, it also adds to the suspiciousness,
well, yeah, yeah.
you know, and it's also like I was there when Lumpur found the water under the ground.
Oh yeah, I only heard of that one.
Yeah, like I wasn't at the place,
Yeah.
but I saw the X's on the ground that he
Oh,
told
okay.
everyone where
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Like I wasn't walking around with him,
Oh, okay, because
but
that was just
like
Ajahn Tamala, right?
and Arjun Brown,
All right.
but I was there when they dug for it,
Yeah, same.
and,
Mm.
and I was there when the
Hit the
guy was like,
layers. Yeah,
yeah, he's like, we're not going to get any water here, and then found exactly what the guy said.
yeah. At the level. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's like
yeah,
that's one data point,
yeah, yeah.
and it doesn't it doesn't allow, like it builds faith, which I think is kind of useless. Like
Well, yeah.
that's the
You're not a monk
that's the
still.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's always the problem.
yeah,
So it's like the the fact that you can't get proof until you've done it
yeah.
is a really hard thing for people to swallow.
Yeah, and then if you're a monastic at that time, you can't then demonstrate.
No, and even if you can, you can't. Like even if you do and break the rules, you can't. Like you're no longer a trustworthy source anyway.
Yeah.
It's like there's there and there's heaps of people that pretend to have powers.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
and even if someone flies, right?
Mm.
Even if someone reads your mind, that is not proof that there's a mind body split. It's like the whole thing where
So what you're
like
saying is we
Christianity.
should do near-death experience trials and just like,
Yeah, like what was that old movie
uh,
where they
yeah,
the
yeah,
medical students were like killing themselves and then bringing
flatliners.
themselves
Yeah.
flatliners.
Yeah.
right? But like, because it's not. It's like the the fact that Jesus came alive after 3 days doesn't prove that he's the Son of God, right?
Well, I mean, for the past 2,000 years it has.
No, but it doesn't prove it.
No, it
If
doesn't
you
do
saw
shit.
someone die and 3 days later they came back alive, right? Let's say that's possible. Let's say that happened.
Mm.
That doesn't make his claims verifiable.
Yeah, right, because it's still based upon the individual's experiential knowledge of that state, which
Yeah,
is not
yeah. It's like, oh,
transferable.
I did that, so trust me on this. Like it's always that. It's always going to be that.
Yeah.
Like it's like my dad said when I was like 16 or something, and I was like telling him I was trying to find the truth. I'm trying to find the truth. He's like, oh yeah, I had a friend that did that, and he went all around Southeast Asia, and he went all around like India and stuff. And when he finally came back, he said, "In the end of it, you have to believe something." Like,
Yeah.
but there's no knowledge. Like,
Yeah,
there's
right.
experience that I have and experience you have, but there's no passing that around. It's like even if I clone my brain and you can watch my brain, it's still not going to be the same.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, unless you can find where the bridge is between consciousness and physical
Yeah,
reality and actually start manipulating that as like a gateway and not just a
yeah, and
manifestation
let
of sensory bases.
yeah. It's like there's the problem is there's no proof. There's only there's no proving a positive. There's only proving a negative.
Mm.
So it's like you can prove something doesn't work, but you can't prove something works.
Yeah. Yeah, and
There's
that's the scary side too. If psychedelics start becoming mainstream and acceptable, you're gonna have just so many mystics out there going, "Oh man, I saw the
yeah.
truth. I talked to
I
the
mean, it's
9 different councils that were all like controlling us." And yeah,
like, don't you remember when the '90s happened and they had all these like faux mystics with their like new age spirituality, and it's just like that way lies like madness. That's all it is. Because you're you're not getting you're not getting better understanding. You're just
mm,
having different experiences.
great. So we're gonna lose
You,
another generation to psychedelics.
well, I mean, it's just going to change us. That's all.
Yeah,
So it will change us,
yeah. It's just
and it
gonna
may
pull us
make
further
us.
from the truth.
Yeah, because it's just layering on top. Like I was just watching Seinfeld get interviewed by Stephen Colbert,
Oh yeah.
and he was talking about transcendental meditation.
Oh yeah, he's big on that. Mm,
Yeah, and he's like, I've been doing it for like 30 years, since the 70s. Well, it's 50 years. I've been doing it since the 70s.
Jesus.
Um, but it's been completely denuded from any sort of idea of what it can actually do.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes me so relaxed. And it's like, that's great.
So does a
Well
glass
done.
of wine at night. Yeah.
Yeah. But imagine if you meditated for 50 years and all you got was relaxed.
It's
You'd be
feeling like
like,
what I'm getting at the moment.
yeah, you'd be like,
Yeah.
well, I feel a bit happier. That would
Mm.
be because there's no pathway.
Yeah,
Like
right.
there's no pathway of like, okay, and then if you get to this stage, this should happen.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no like, okay, once you've like calmed your thoughts,
Yeah.
start focusing on your breath.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're focusing on your breath.
Mm.
You'll notice that it starts becoming pleasurable.
Yeah.
It's like, there's like specific steps that you
Yeah.
can follow and are verifiable once you do it. And it's quite easy to verify those first couple steps.
Yeah.
It's like your mind physically becomes less talkative
Well,
if you
mentally.
focus
Yeah.
on the well, I mean,
Yeah.
experientially,
Yeah. Yeah.
it becomes less talkative if you focus on the present moment.
Yeah.
Right? There's no,
Yeah.
it's
It's purely
irrefutable.
cause and effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, And then it's like, okay, well, if you try the next step of like being aware silently in the present moment, then that happens. And it's like these are really small steps
Yeah,
that people can actually take.
yeah, but it just
And
hits a wall. That practice
yeah,
just
it
hits a
does.
wall.
Yeah, your
And
practice hits a wall. But
yeah,
what happens is you've still got those steps that you're like, well, this part of the map was correct.
yeah,
So maybe the rest of the map, it doesn't have to believe the whole map where there's dragons on the ocean and there's octopus eating boats and stuff. But maybe the next set of mountain ranges
yeah,
can be, over that is another valley of like grass and meadows.
yeah,
You know, so it's like there's that sense of like progression. Whereas I believe, I don't want to misquote it, but like I believe like that sort of transcendental meditation is like a mantra based one, and so you can never actually stop thinking.
all right.
Like,
You always have a construct.
yeah, you've always got this thing going, think, 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 think,
Yeah, yeah, as
and
opposed to the silent present moment, and then
yeah, it like, so that's where they are. That's where I think they are. I mean, I could be wrong because I don't know the whole method, but
yeah,
like, what a crazy place to be left at the very beginning.
yeah, relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's pretty weird.
yeah, it's never.
Anyway, how long have we been going?
Oh, like nearly an hour and a half. All right.
Wow, we're doing better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're just resolving the issues of the universe. It's just give
Uh,
it an extra 20 minutes.
so that's
Yeah.
an afternoon.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can wrap it up there. And we'll same again next week.
well,
All right.
well, how about we end it
But, huh?
how about we end it with what do you think of what do you think of the D&D game?
What happened? Oh, that's right. We went into the to the house and then tried to work our way down. And
You went into the
oh,
the
that's right.
actually you went
We're in
into
heavy
the
combat. That's right.
yeah
Yeah.
you went into the massive monastery,
Yeah.
the interdenominational monastery.
Yeah. Yeah. That was. I can understand why was it Kim wanted another game because it was like that was mid swing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I had to stop it because
Yeah.
I couldn't. I'm still not very good at judging how long things will take.
Yeah. Well, we faff around a lot. That whole potions draw
Well, I mean, but
shenanigans.
that was good.
That was
That
yeah,
was good.
that was fun. Um,
But
but yeah, it's. I guess you just stop it when you stop it. But yeah, it's. I don't know. We're still descending slowly into madness with it, but
mm,
we're hitting a lot harder, so that's pretty cool.
yeah, no, you guys are going pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to check
Yeah,
out the fighter classes you were mentioning.
yeah. I thought I saw sent you that because
Mm.
like I was watching a video today about fighter classes,
All right.
and I can link you that as well if you want. It
Yeah.
basically they rank them,
Mm.
and the one you picked was like the worst one.
Oh,
So
jeez.
like they
Yeah.
were
Well, I mean, that's the
like the
free one
champion.
that comes with the D&D Beyond. So I
Ah,
was like,
okay,
okay,
that's
I'll just
probably
select
why.
that one. Click. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were like they were like it's always pushed as the beginner one,
Yeah. Right.
but he's like I always find myself bored with it.
Yeah.
So he said like he said, and the one they ranked the best is Battle Master. Battle
Oh,
Master.
yeah. Yeah, because you get all
Um,
those additional like skill dice or whatever you can take.
yeah, and it is very flexible. And
Mm.
then the other thing he was talking about was oh, there was an Archer one, which you're not going to
No,
want to
he's
do.
not. He's
But
not built up as that
yeah,
yet.
but then there's a whole bunch of other ones that were on that website
Right.
that are I don't even know where they come from. A lot of them. They
Right.
might be homebrew. They might be like from later books, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just go through them.
Yeah. Sure.
And if you want to make a one-time change, I'm happy to, because kind of like
Okay. Yeah.
you kind of like chose that randomly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. It
Well,
was.
not randomly. It was the only choice.
Yeah. It was
But
just
yeah,
limited resources, and I was just like, okay, I'll just
yeah,
go with that one because it's built up, and I'll just role
yeah,
play my way around it. Um.
yeah. But I'm liking the way we're using D&D Beyond as like a base thing,
Yeah.
and then we're just like
Cut and paste
manually
some
doing a
notes in
bunch
there.
of it.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why there's homebrew like sections. Um.
yeah, exactly.
It's just
And yeah, like some of them are like, I mean, some of them wouldn't fit your character type
sure.
because it's like psychic battles and
Yeah.
like there's mage
If we get
classes
nosebleed just
almost.
trying to open the door.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I find it
Mm.
interesting, like that
Yeah.
what you were playing was like the most basic and had the least sort of
Yeah, I was literally looking at it, I'm like, there's just nothing to this. This
yeah,
thing really sucks. But
yeah,
it was the one that was
yeah.
available on
It's
the
got
character sheet only. And
yeah. See, it's
because
got the
the
least levers and buttons.
yeah,
It's like you just have your auto crit, you have your
yeah,
bash, you
yeah.
have your like
Oh,
you
that's
know.
about it. Yeah.
Whereas the battle master, you get 3 points to spend
Mm,
on these die,
yeah,
and you've got a list of like 10 things that I think you get to choose three initially, and
yeah,
then and so like throughout the combat, you're always thinking, oh, when am I going to spend that?
yeah,
When am I going to spend this?
yeah,
Like, do I do it now? Do I do it late? It's like you've got that like,
yeah. You're much more versatile.
ec- yeah, and
Yeah,
we're experienced enough where you want complexity rather than
yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
you
we're
want more
already
buttons than less
yeah,
buttons.
we're already doing it. It's just like, where am I going to position? What feat will I use next? How can I help the squad out the
Yeah,
best? And our clerics is just
yeah,
like
exactly.
casting off bless, and the others are bardic inspiration, and they're not wasting combat on that. It's just buff, 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 run.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
So
like,
yeah,
I'll,
no.
I'll look for one and I'll send you, see if I can, if it's a legitimate, good enough change. Probably just going to be an
Oh,
Eldritch Knight
do whatever.
spellcaster. Yeah.
Honestly, do
Nah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm happy to give you a one-time change because, like, I I mentioned to Bennett, I was like, oh, you can change one spell per level,
Mm.
and he didn't realize that.
All
So I
right.
was like, oh, well, you can go back and change one spell per level. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to like go, well, tough luck.
Yeah, because we're not stats and strats players. We're role
Mm.
players. It feels like the
Yeah,
whole group's
exactly.
actually willing to play their character with the backgrounds and stuff. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
if it adds more flavor, great. But like, I've played characters that have taken a hit to their abilities to combat well or perform combat well, but it's more interesting to play.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
And
much more interesting. And
yeah,
it's much more interesting to DM
yeah,
instead of being like, I have specifically
yeah,
nailed down the exact like
yeah. Because then all your
path that
combat
will
encounters have
maximize
to
everything.
take that into account. Because it's just like, they're
Yeah,
not going to parlay because they're not built for that. They're just gonna
yeah,
attack, 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 attack. So you just end up building fortresses everywhere.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And you also end up like, I think we were talking before, it becomes more glass cannony
yeah,
than so it's like to fight you, I have to have a really high level creature,
mm,
but to yeah, like, but if I do that,
you're just
they're
gonna
just
die.
going to kill you.
Yeah,
Like, I'm going to have to fudge something somewhere.
yeah.
And I've been specifically not fudging anything. Like,
No,
I've been
I've seen
specifically
your
like,
rolls. Yeah.
yeah, all of my, I mean, fortunately, they're terrible. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yes, my programming has taken over
yeah.
Discord.
Well, I think it is funny. Like, if I got the rolls that I did without you seeing the rolls, you
Mm.
would think I'm fudging them.
Yeah, yeah, you
You'd be
got
like,
like three ones
oh, I
or
missed.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, you missed three times in a row. Oh, that was lucky.
yeah.
Like,
DM to the
but yeah.
rescue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
but I did get to one shot V. That was a good feeling.
Yeah,
Came down with that axe.
yeah, yeah. That destroyed him.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Um, but yeah, all right, cool. I'll look into that and we'll tee it up again for Saturday.
Yeah, should we do some thumbnails?
Oh, okay. Yeah. What
Ready?
do? Yeah. Dear.
Make sure you keep this in the video as well,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
want to see it at the end. It's like
Yeah.
some poor guys watching through the end. Where
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah. Where's that
What did they
scene?
do
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why was there
and,
the dog head in the last one?
yeah. And then right at the end, it's like us
Yeah.
just talking about this.
Yeah. You can always do the
Oh,
close-up
anyway.
food one where you just like.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Oh, I actually thought of one. Ready?
uh,
I'm gonna do this,
uh-huh.
and then you put a black square over here.
All right, that's definitely in the video.
Yeah. You just have like this black square over my fingers and over the down to some shape.
Dear. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, I'll catch you next
Uh,
time then. That was awesome.
yeah, sweet dude. No, that was awesome.
All right,
See you, man.
see you all.